Elder George Teasdale said there are thousands in this congregation that can bear a faithful testimony that God lives, and that this is His work that we are engaged in. He spoke of the time when God first revealed Himself to Joseph Smith, who was then the only man who had this testimony. Then commenced persecution, the world against the truth, in the midst of which was exhibited the power of God in the protection of His servant, in the preservation and the translation of the plates, from which came forth that sacred record called the Book of Mormon. Then came the authority conferred upon Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery by John the Baptist to empower them to preach the gospel and baptize believers for the remission of their sins. Then there were 2 men standing on earth as witnesses for Christ, after which came Peter, James, and John to confer the Melchizedek priesthood, and who gave instructions pertaining to the kingdom of God. He then spoke to the effects that have followed the preaching of the gospel to the various nations of the earth, and the thousands that have been gathered to these valleys of the mountains, bringing with them the spirit of the gospel, being protected on their journey by manifestations of God's providences in fulfillment of predictions made to them by the servants of the Lord. He rejoiced at the awakening there is among the Latter-day Saints. God is moving among us, and while we are actively engaged in the various duties of our calling, the building of temples, the payment of our tithes and offerings, and offering up our prayers, we can see the providences of the Almighty in our history, and rely that He will most assuredly protect and defend us so long as we work righteousness. Zion will not be redeemed by blood, but by righteousness, and we must take a course to secure the favor of the Almighty, that we may be preserved and finally redeemed back again in His presence.